Boy, let's see what they're linking Arsenal with today. I mean, if we're going to do that, I need to go to the start of my tabs. Big up everybody listening. Don't forget Arsenal versus Spurs. Watch along later today from 7 p.m. UK time. But as we know, we're quite upbeat after being linked with Zubimendi, etc. Let me know your thoughts on the Zubimendi deal. We're going to quickly run over those things as well throughout the course of this video. Make sure you're here to the end because I've got to obviously offer some thoughts in relation to that. And I would say this, Arsenal fans, yeah, because I see it in the comments. I know a lot of you, but my platform, I make a big song and dance of A, not telling you what to think, just to think, and B, obviously, but you are here because you know about balanced opinions or you want balance. We consider the good, the bad, the ugly. If you want to lean towards the positive or the negative beyond that point, then that's your prerogative. And I have seen this naturally. We know what's going on with our season, the element of it throwing away. We know about the injuries. We know about the question marks over Mikel Arteta. We know about, our only hopes of silverware or the Prem and the champs, as unrealistic as that is. Hope we can turn it around against Newcastle with the League Cup, the FA Cup. He's gone, people. And obviously, you saw Nottingham Forest draw against Liverpool. Naturally, Arsenal fans are going to turn into mathematicians. It's all fun and games, Liverpool dropping points, but you leave yourself with no margin for error when you drop points, people. Right? We have been doing smash the like button. Now, I do think, when you hear about summer dealings, I think those of us, Arsenal fans, I'd say 20 plus, down to the older heads, 50s and 60s. During the Emirates era, we see the cycle. Ultimately, when it looks like there's nothing to play for or negative, we see the summer signings come out, whether it's stuff like Zubimendi with the credited journalists, or we hear about War Chest, or we're linked with all of these great players that we all sign in FIFA and Football Manager. And I consider that in two ways. I'm happy if the Zubimendi signing happens. Of course, I want the guy. I think he's good. But we need signings now in January. The summer's great. I'm looking forward to Carnival. Right now, it's January. There's no need to be outside raving. You get it? Once again, we've been linked with Gyökeres and Mbeumo, two players that, there's a world where both players would fit in at Arsenal. I'm sure fans would want either or. And these are players that are linked. You all see the goals Gyökeres is bagging for fun every week at Sport in Lisbon. The only game I've seen him be quiet in is the one where he played Saliba and Gabriel. And Mbeumo's Premier League proven, 25, 26. Brentford's recruitment spot on. He's someone we'd love to have. And he's contracted until 2026. For me, I don't just believe he'll be on Arsenal's shortlist. Whether we get him is another thing, but I'm sure a lot of clubs would be interested. Maybe I'm wrong. Let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Arsenal will be forced into the transfer market to find a striker this month after Gabriel Jesus suffered a season-ending ACL injury over the weekend. I mean, obviously, first things first, Gabriel Jesus, and you would have seen Arsenal have actually announced, come out and confirmed he suffered an ACL cruciate ligament in his left knee. Of course, that's his season done. That's the best part of the year for him done. We hope to see him sooner rather than later. Of course, from a selfish sporting point of view, his injury, obviously, we haven't got, while he was underperforming, excluding his purple patch, we don't have a player to select, and we already got depleted squad and the depleted attacking options. I would also say that I know the January market's difficult to do business, who we're going to sign, etc. But if the Gabriel Jesus injury is the straw, that broke the camel's back, then we're in trouble. And let's not even talk about the young, talented Ethan who was making strides, and obviously Saka, because even if everybody was fit, there's still space for greater attacking options. And you could see this was going to be the thing, people. And to be fair, the Zubimendi article in the Daily Mail yesterday did also reiterate that. But I need to see somebody sign, people. We know we're looking to challenge for the Premier League and go deep in the champs. We know our options might be limited on the market, but everybody goes into the market with that understanding. And you're seeing some of the names floated about. You're seeing some of the players that are actually making movements to other clubs. You either find solutions or make excuses. Apparently, Isaac and Jonathan David would originally be targets considered by the Gunners. L'Equipe understands, but neither Newcastle nor Leo are willing to listen to offers for their number 9s this month. Jonathan David, who could be available, is going to be available on a free transfer as his contract is running down, like Trent, like Alphonso Davies, like Kimmich, like plenty of footballers in and around people. Technically, Salah and Van Dijk and Thomas Partey. According to L'Equipe, a move for Sporting's Victor Gyökeres could be considered. The prolific Swedish forward has a €100 million release clause that the Premier League wouldn't necessarily necessarily be Premier League side wouldn't necessarily be reticent, if that's the word, to activating, especially given the 116 million euro sum they paid for Declan Rice. I disagree with our willingness to pay that. I think we'd try and negotiate with Sporting. I don't think Gyökeres is rightly or wrongly Arsenal's first option. I think they'd rather, if Gyökeres, Isak, and Šeško is available, and they're all for this makeshift scenario, if all three of those players are available and they're all, let's say, obviously not, but just to make it easier, they're all available for 20 million. All the clubs are happy to sell. They're all willing to join Arsenal, right? I think Isak would be the first one on Mikel Arteta and Arsenal's lips. I then think it'd be Šeško. I then think it'd be Gyökeres. So it's not that Gyökeres is a bad player. I just don't think they're willing to commit that sum in the summer, regardless of how, in January, regardless of how I feel who needs to be recruited and what makes our squad better because of the summer market. And also, I'm no accountant, but we all know release clauses. If Sporting don't want to negotiate, which I don't think they will, Jan, you have to pay his release clause up front. You factor in that and his wages off the back of the summer we had. Yes, from a fan's point of view, it was underwhelming, but spent over 100 odd million. And clearly there was some tightening of the purse strings or needing to get sales done at Arsenal during the summer, probably for the balance sheet and the financial year. I don't want to say that, but it probably is a reality. So at least we've seen a new name. Haven't really seen Jonathan David linked with us of recent, but he's been thrown in there. Apparently, Arteta is also an admirer of Brian and Mbeumo. We knew that, and we keep getting linked with Gyökeres. So really, we didn't learn anything. The Athletic have their own little think piece on what's eating Arsenal. I think in this, they've spoken about the injuries, fan sentiment, questions over Mikel Arteta, and obviously recruitment people. We're going to try and just get to the meat of it. Pause. Why for that? But anyways, on the day Arsenal lost a centre forward to a long-term injury, they were heavily linked with a holding midfielder. That's presumably little more than coincidence. Arsenal's worst fears over Gabriel Jesus' left knee were confirmed, and news emerged that they have made significant headways on a deal to sign Real Sociedad Zubimendi. Zubimendi is well regarded and would be a welcome addition to any squad, as we've seen Bayern, Man United, Arsenal, been linked with Real Madrid, have all tried, which I'll get onto it, but in Zubimendi's case, I'll just say this quickly, people. Until it's confirmed, it's not confirmed, people. So yeah, we all know Saka's injured, Ben White's been injured, Calafiori's been in and out the squad in that regards, Zinni the same. The list goes on. Even Thomas Partey's been relatively injury-free, has missed a couple of weeks, Merino, and there's plenty of names I have not said there, people. So it is what it is. This is inspired, regardless of God, I would love to obviously not have seen Saka and Gabriel Jesus and all these players have the injuries they've had. Oh, naturally, this is someone's faith. But once again, even if everybody was fit up until this point, we'd probably do a lot better. We'd probably be, as fans, focusing on bringing in more players during this, different sort of profiles during January. I do maintain everyone at Arsenal was speaking about the depth of our squad in terms of the numbers, the striker, and maybe another winger that can deputize and compete with Saka on that right, probably uplifts the starting 11 on the left. So I think this is merely highlighted it, and not exaggerated is not the right word, but exaggerated a lot of what we've been saying during the summer and beyond, people. So yeah, people. In that regards, last summer's recruitment and January plans, at this point, it's difficult to argue Arsenal's summer was a success. The club's, it wasn't. I like the additions, but it wasn't. We spent over 100 million. Did we improve the starting 11? I like Calafiori and what he can become, but at this moment in time, we've probably seen him. We've probably spoken about his injuries more than his quality on the field. Neto ain't kicked a ball. Raheem Sterling, we ran around on deadline days. We know. I like Mikel Merino. Had Mikel Merino have signed in the summer where you signed Zubimendi, then we look at him different, but he's a squad player at best. Obviously, David Raya's deal was made permanent, people. And ultimately, for a team that finished 2 points off City, did we leave that summer with any confidence that we would close the fine margins that Arsenal and a lot of people connected to Arsenal speak about? Did we feel a lot stronger about competing on 4 trophy fronts? Did we feel our strongest 11 had any level raises or anyone that's really challenging? Probably I'll push only Calafiori, but again, we're at where we're at now, isn't it? I'm a broken record. I'm sure you guys are as well. Smash the like button. While Raya has had a good season, the new arrivals have yet to make much impact. Of Arsenal's 31 games in all competitions, Calafiori and Merino have started just 12 apiece. And Sterling has been named in the 11 for only 5 matches. Neto is yet to appear for Arsenal. That tells you everything. There's plenty of time for the perception to change. This time last year, Raya and Kai Havertz did did not look especially convincing business. Calafiori and Merino would need to follow Havertz and Raya's lead in producing excellent second halves of the season if they are to turn the tide of opinion. I've got complete faith in Calafiori. As I said, you know, if you do commit the Zubimendi and you got Declan Rice, Merino for me is a squad player in my opinion. Midfield was the subject of much debate in the early part of the summer. Declan Rice had been signed for a club record fee the previous summer. The initial plan had to play him as a 6, but after Rice impressing as a number 8 in the second half of the 2022-23 season, that was thrown into doubt. Let me know your thoughts, because surely the Rice in the 8 is not going anywhere, because Zubimendi is more likely to play as a 6. Yeah, you can have double pivots and all of those things, but just let me know your thoughts, people. It is quite interesting. It was felt that decision on Rice's future position would determine the profile of the midfielder they needed to recruit. Now, for me, teach Declan Rice, teach him all the stuff in the middle and final third, make him more complete player. But we signed him as a 24-year-old. He's recently become 26 now. Happy belated to Declan Rice. Hopefully he scores in the North London derby, right? But he signed for a club record fee. He's played X amount of times for England, X amount of times for West Ham, captained West Ham, played in a Euro final. What else has he done? Won a European trophy with West Ham. How much is that man going to change in terms of being that 8? He is not a professional footballer and earned the money he's earned and the stature in the game Declan Rice has got because of goals and assists and stuff in the attacking third. As I said, if you want to make him more complete, go and do that. But his bread and butter is a 6. Give or take, excluding Rodri, he was seen as one of the best 6s in the world. Why are we changing up the pattern? Because ultimately you're trying to make you're trying to make a monkey swim or a dolphin climb a tree, in my opinion. And again, Mikel Arteta is going to have to hold that, because you can get at the cronkies, which I don't think anyone's blameless. But for the money that's been available, he's kind of been swindled at times and mismanaged. Ultimately, that decision never came, and the market determined who Arsenal recruited. The availability of Merino caught Arteta's attention, with neither Havertz nor Rice deemed the perfect fit for the left 8. So we haven't replaced Granit Xhaka. The Merino thing is not going to work for 38 games, in my opinion. Kai Havertz, where you can put a shift in midfield and you're still a midfield option, but that never worked. Declan Rice, we're at with it. And there's, we've seen Smith Rowe and Fabio Vieira, not that many opportunities, but Arteta's made his own mess at times, in my opinion. Apparently, Arsenal debated the merits of signing Merino before proceeding to. There were concerns over his age 28 and the plausibility of getting a return on their substantial investment. Arteta's belief in Calafiori and Merino's talent ultimately drove through Arsenal's interest. So Arteta's voice held the most clout. You have to hold that. It was during those conversations over Merino that Arsenal reignited their interest in his Real Sociedad teammate Zubimendi. The 25-year-old holding midfielder has been a long-term target for Arsenal, and with Jorginho and Partey out of contract at the end of the season, they're hoping to complete a deal in the summer of 2025. Zubimendi has 60 million euros in brackets 51 million pounds or $61.8 million release clause, but Arsenal may be prepared to pay slightly more if they can negotiate more favourable payment terms. So we're trying to make that stretch. One thing Arsenal failed to do was significantly strengthen their attack. Goals win games. We got 91 goals last season, even with these same question marks. Imagine we had a guy that gets 20 odd and we become a team that gets 100 plus, that turns some defeats into draws, some draws into victories. Ultimately, sometimes like in this period where we've not exactly been great over 90 minutes, but we've had like 2 clear-cut chances. It won't be a case of every game, but a couple of those games or those periods, a prolific frontman, he nicks you something. He might nick you. He might score that last goal in the. You missed the chance in the dying embers of the Man United game in the FA Cup. I think it was Kai Havertz. He might nick that game for you, even though it weren't perfect. He might nick you a goal in the first half against Brighton, and give or take with the penalties is 2-1. He might nick you at least a goal in the League Cup against Newcastle where we was crap, but a 2-1 deficit going to St James's Park isn't as bad as obviously 2-0. And there's several other examples, people. So this is what I mean. I think we've engineered our own issues. I think we're very naive to place our goal scoring efforts on Kai Havertz, not to diss Kai, because it's gone past the point of looking at Kai. He only did it for half the season. It's more how, with the money spent and the amount of time people have been here and the actual positives and what we've been fighting for in the last few years, we've shot ourselves in the foot. It's nowhere around that, people. And it's beginning to the what appeared to be stability. Things are appearing to crack now. One thing Arsenal failed to do was again strengthen their attack people. We explored a number of deals for forwards. Our interest in Šeško was well documented. Fairly early in the summer, however, Šeško communicated his desire to remain with Leipzig for at least one more year, Arsenal understanding. So we said we're going to wait, or did we explore other targets, or really pour our efforts into bringing in a wide man? I don't know. Arsenal generally prefer to wait to secure primary targets rather than panic buy. I think every club does that. I do think the language around Arsenal kind of makes out that there's a lot of things that are unique to Arsenal, but not necessarily that. Arsenal knew they had to keep some powder dry for another potential attempt at signing Šeško and indeed for Zubimendi. Nico Williams, ultimately, his buyout clause and wage demands meant Arsenal would have needed several more sales, from the first team group to afford a deal. Arteta's admiration for Newcastle's Isak has been consistent, but likewise, Arsenal have always felt his price tag would be difficult to meet. So we can forget that. Where Šeško or another long-term target available in the summer, things might have been different, yeah. But Arsenal did not feel there were attackers on the market who represented clear upgrades, so strengthened other areas. Okay, did the one we brought in represent an upgrade anywhere? If a buy had emerged for Reece Nelson, it might have unlocked some budget for another arrival. As it was, come the end of the window, his only suitors were looking for loan deals. That led to the decision to sign Sterling as his replacement. Neto was similar last season, so we spent the summer messing it up and running around on deadline day. Arsenal had spent the summer embroiled in the pursuit of Espanyol's Juan Garcia. The 23-year-old was goalkeeping coach Inaki Canya's preferred candidate to replace Aaron Ramsdale. But in the final hours of the window, it became clear Espanyol were not prepared to move on their asking price, which he had a release clause. We weren't prepared to pay it. With time running out, Edu turned to the experienced Neto. So in Edu's credit, he's pulled a rabbit out the hat with the Neto thing then, really. It was a pragmatic deal, but not a perfect one. Neto was cup-tied for a competition in which he was most likely to play. Obviously, only Arsenal would do that. And big up Jack Porter for making his debut. As to January, as recent as the day of the Man United game, Arsenal did not expect a significant addition to their attack in January, believing the players they admire would not be available to move mid-season. The seriousness of Jesus' injury will surely have changed that stance. The situation requires urgent attention, and Arsenal may have to deviate from their broader recruitment strategy. And we all know Mikel Arteta just recently said we are actively looking in the market to improve the squad. Apparently, Šeško remains of interest. His intention has been to finish the season with Leipzig, but the right proposition from the right club could see that transition shift. This may be the time for Arsenal to make a concerted effort. So is that indirectly saying Šeško could be available in January? I'm not sure. Arsenal may also widen their pool of targets. Vlahovic, previously a target in January of 2022, is one name that could reappear on the list. Budgets will be a factor, as well as the Premier League's profit and sustainability rules. Arsenal's Champions League participation means they also need to comply with UEFA's financial regulations. Plus, the goal of Arsenal's owners, KSC, has always been to see the club return to a sustaining model. Really and truly, obviously, I'm sure there's been a lot of spending in the last few years that we've got to be careful of, but I think the last sentence is all that matters. Self-sustaining. I do think naturally, I'm no accountant, but I think we've got to tread carefully where PSR and all that stuff is concerned, people. But you also equally, you see these financial experts come out and say the only limitations that Arsenal have are those that they're putting on themselves. We all know we need to trim the squad, people. Apparently, we have no immediate need for a centre back. I do think we could deal with another defender, people. Apparently, it looks like Victor Rice is going to City. We put in significant work for that, but it isn't happening at this moment in time, people. Obviously, we know Edu is left, and we know Jason Aito at this moment in time is in charge of things. Ben Jacobs, not sure on the credibility of him or if his name holds weight like that. Apparently, Arsenal retain a strong interest in Benjamin Šeško. The striker was sold on the club's project last summer, but stayed at RB Leipzig as he felt was best for his short-term development. It's now unclear if Šeško could be persuaded to join in January. This article, Football Insider, have said Arsenal have been looking to sign a striker anyways, but after that performance from Havertz, I'd expect them now to really step up their efforts. They've been limited with their attacking options after picking up some pretty huge injuries, but then the players who are fit have got to step up, and they haven't. I think Arteta will be concerned about the lack of clinical finishing in front of goal. He works with these players. We've said this with limited knowledge. He works with these players. He's seen the majority of these players for a couple of years at the very least. So I don't know what's going on there. The hardest thing is in football, is to score goals. And we don't have players that can do that on a consistent basis. They can go through patches in 5 and 10 games and at staggered part of the seasons. But Bukayo Saka is the only one you're going to bet your bottom dollar is going to score goals in August and get assists and probably be in and around that in May. When you want to be a league title winner, you need to be able to have answers for these questions. If you just want to be able to challenge and consistently qualify for the Champions League and be in there and around, we're doing all right in that. But I'm sure fans, including myself, want a lot more than that. Smash the like button. So before the window closes, I'd expect them to really try to bring in a new centre forward. Whether they can do that or not is a different question, which is true. Now, I was reading this off my own back, people. It's in relation to Kai Havertz and his struggles, which I'm not on this scapegoating Kai Havertz thing, but I don't believe I believe he could be part of the squad. You're not a leader like that in terms of leading the line. Once again, Arteta gets what he wishes for. There was some apprehension behind the scenes at Arsenal when Arteta insisted the club move for Havertz in the summer of 2023, when it became clear Chelsea were open to selling him. So we've heard concerns over Merino, concerns over Kai Havertz. Whether they've worked out better than expected or struggling, Arteta has to hold that really and truly. He has to hold that, people. Arsenal went into negotiations with striker targets, insisting the 25-year-old would start the season in possession of the start of the shirt. I mean, any striker that, respectfully to Kai, any striker that Arsenal were linked with, I get it on one hand. You're taking me for a bit of a mug if you think I can't start ahead of Kai. So I get if the club is saying that and you're like, forget it, then me, big striker, real number 9. You playing this false 9 ahead of me, forget that. But I also think it's very naive from the club if you wanted to rely on Kai Havertz over a 38-game period. And if you genuinely, we're telling strikers that, yo, you're not playing ahead of Kai. Now, we get it. He didn't put a foot wrong in the second half of the season. Obviously, as things played out, he probably would have lost his spot. And with the injuries, hindsight's a wonderful thing, but nonsense. Nearly 12 months on, people, whether Kai has the all-round game to lead a team going for a title is open to conjecture. I mean, come on, man. You lot sound too smart making these articles and that. The beautiful thing about football is it is complicated, but it's also simple. He's not. He can be part of the squad. He can rotate in and out, but strongest 11, you can't upgrade on Kai Havertz up front. Crazy. You would have seen yesterday, Arsenal once again are pursuing a deal to sign Martin Zubimendi from Sociedad next summer, which again, you could say would be to please fans after the period we're in, giving a bit of optimum. Some would say PR, etc. Romano's also said we're in advanced talks. Romano has said we plan to trigger his release clause, which is consistent with what a lot of people are saying. But until players are holding Arsenal shirts saying they grew up watching Thierry Henry and all of these things, I generally look at things with a pinch of salt on the best of days. And then you look at someone like Zubimendi, who 1 minute you always leave in Sociedad, then there's a U-turn. Apparently, allegedly, Sport has said he is said to be tired of the constant England rumours and is completely focused on Real Sociedad right now. One source said Zubimendi is not committed to anyone, which until... I'm sure if I was at Arsenal, might know something else. But when you're linked with Real Madrid and all of these clubs, until you're signed on a dotted line and I see official confirmation on Arsenal.com, I don't know. David Ornstein has said Martin Zubimendi's release clause is 60 million euros. My understanding is that Arsenal, might look to pay a bit more so that they can stagger the payments and that would allow them to do other business next summer, which I understand the method. But that just screams Bright House payments and things like that. And obviously is inconsistent with what everyone reported yesterday about activating his release clause. Of course, that gives you more wiggle room. And obviously, we seem to be doing a lot of business with Sociedad. Obviously, there's a connection because that's kind of Arteta's region in Spain. But we, paid a decent amount for a player, Merino, whose deal's out in the last year of his deal, people. Last year of his deal. So, yeah, they pulled our pants down. Obviously, people, we negotiated with them when Tini went out on loan. And if we get Zubimendi, we've got good relations. Can't we get their sporting director, Alabi, as well? Seems like they're and if they get more than his release clause, they're bumping us. And again, on the topic of Zubimendi, if you remember, he looked like he could be going Liverpool before having a change of heart, people. He said at the time, my philosophy is to do what I feel at all times. So what if he feels he don't want to make the move again? So things have gone well for me. It's true. There was a lot of noise. I went through some uncomfortable moments. The best thing for me was to stay here and I'm happy and I'm at peace. There's a lot of noise because of the press, but in the end, everything is easier than all that. Of course, I don't regret it. I can't think of that after 4 or 5 games at the start of the season. I made my decision from within. I thought it was the best thing to do. The results don't affect me. I see potential in this team. You just have to watch us train, and I'm excited about having a good season. Sounds like Mikel Arteta, if I'm honest with you. As we know, Arsenal tried to sign him 12 months ago, people. It didn't happen. Man City have also been linked with him. How far that went, I don't know. To my knowledge, it seems that based on what we've read throughout the last year or so, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Bayern Munich are the ones that have really tried to get this over the line. He was even linked with Leverkusen. Xabi Alonso gave him his chops. We've been linked with Randall Koulibaly, people, which obviously we're now seeing is going to Juventus. And apparently we've been offered Kingsley Coleman, obviously because of our injury issues. I don't know if I believe that, but it is what it is, people. Apparently where Koulibaly is concerned, both Arsenal and Man United thought that was too expensive. He seems like he's getting Juventus, people. Kingsley Coleman, Arsenal apparently like him, but his fee and wage demands are also deemed expensive. Mikel Arteta's side are more likely to pursue loan deals from abroad unless they pay over the odds for summer targets. I mean, on the topic of loan deals, unless you cancel Sterling's or Neto's, you can only go abroad because we've already got 2 loans. So I don't know how far that goes, people. Apparently, we've been issued a hands-off warning by Aston Villa for John Duran, who have no intention of selling Duran in the January transfer window. Been linked with PSG as well, people. And as you can see, the Nico Williams, the Šeškos, these are the ones that are consistently thrown around. I'd love us to sign John Duran, but he just signed a new deal until 2030. Aston Villa are trying to achieve what they're trying to achieve. He's a bloody good player. To have him and Ollie Watkins for a season, they're laughing. So a myth. Arsenal and Spurs are interested in Tyreek Mitchell this month. Crystal Palace are very keen to keep the left back whose contract runs out in the summer. Do you guys believe that? Once again, it's been confirmed that unfortunately, get well soon, smash the like button as well. Gabriel Jesus has suffered an ACL injury. Brighton confirmed Ferguson could leave amid Arsenal and West Ham transfer links. What has gone on here? Their manager has said, we'll negotiate what is important for him, what is important for his development, where he can improve the best, and then we'll make the decision together. The decision should be what is best for the player and for the club. We sent Bayonorte, for example, to Leicester. We know the Premier League is a very good league to improve because it's tough, it's intense, especially for young players. It's the perfect environment to adapt. In the end, they want to play for Brighton, and we want them to play for Brighton. So when they're improving the environment, the league where we are also playing, it's always very helpful. So that's why I'm not thinking about making the other teams better. It's more about what's best for the player. So, I mean, they've done us there. It's got nothing to do with Arsenal, really and truly, does it? We've gone over the Zubimendi stuff. Everybody and their nanny saying he's going to join us. Zinchenko, over the last 48 hours, has been aggressively linked with Borussia Dortmund. Reports in Germany say 1 minute it's a loan with an option to buy, then it's a buy with an obligation, then it's just a dry loan. Apparently, he's said to be keen to leave. I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing. I think, obviously I wouldn't cry if Zinchenko left, but we're down to our bare bones. You can't bet on Tomiyasu's fitness. 1 minute Calafiori's here and then he's not. Obviously, Benjamin White's out, but at a push, you could have Benjamin White at right back. And it's really just Timber and Lewis Skelly as potential left back options. And obviously, you've got Kivior in and around. So I don't know if it's the right option to let him go. But saying that, he's contracted for another 2 years, people. So you've got to make a decision on him, people, really and truly. And the summer will be pivotal for Zinchenko. Let's be honest. Zinchenko in the role he's at now, this is the only one that you should be in. You can't be a main player. Yeah, inverted fullback and whatnot, but defensively, he never got any real confidence in him, people. So we'll have to see. Mikel Arteta says he wants the best ever atmosphere at the Emirates in the North London derby, which I'm all for. On the topic of the North London derby, we will be doing a watch along for that live from 7 p.m. So yeah, man.
Always